My guest today is a holistic fertility coach, yoga and meditation teacher. She also is a fierce advocate for mind-body wellness. With a nurturing yet empowering approach, she helps women break through mental barriers, deepen self-love, and build unshakable confidence on their fertility journey. Drawing from Ayurvedic wisdom, chakra balancing, and restorative healing, she supports optimal health and natural conception from the inside out. As a mother of three, including twins, she weaves her personal experiences into her mission, guiding women to transform their mindset, reduce stress, and reclaim their inner power. In this episode, we dive into the sacred and often overlooked practice of clearing your womb space before conception, and we break down what truly supports fertility and what silently sabotages it. We're also going to pull back the curtain on how the IVF industry has gained a monopoly over women's paths to motherhood, and so much more. For those of you who are on the journey, this episode is for you. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of the Skin I'm In podcast. I'm your host, Chanel, and this is the space where real stories meet radical self-discovery. Here, you'll find peace through clarity, purpose through inspiration, and the permission to be your authentic self through the stories of men and women who've walked the path before us. If this show moves you, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. That small but powerful act helps the show grow and brings in the guest you most want to hear from. In return, my promise to you is that I'll keep showing up with the raw, the real, and the conversations that crack us wide open, reminding us we're not alone. So, let's dive in and find the light in the shadows together. Welcome to the Skin I'm In podcast, Ashley. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we have so much to get into. And one of the things that I love about your story is the journey that you went on to get into that fertility space, because it's just so relatable for so many women, I find. And it's something that profoundly shifted your belief systems around falling pregnant. So, where did your journey start and where is it now?
Well, I'll start at the end because I am a proud mom of three. I have twins, we're 12, and a 6-year-old. But at the beginning, I didn't know if I would be blessed to have any and didn't know what my future was going to have in store and what that looked like. And so, living in Canada, I finally got out of denial and went to the fertility clinic because in my mind, I thought that that was the only way and the only option to be able to have any more children. And yes, I did walk away with twins eventually, but I also had unexplained infertility and did not believe upon leaving that I could have any more children on my own, as well as not wanting to put myself through that again, emotionally or mentally. And so when my twins were 2 years old, I landed on my yoga mat and began to embody these ancient teachings and wisdom and was able to conceive naturally and easily and holistically in a very short time frame compared to the first time around, and was really empowered and had a mind body spirit connection, and now offer that to women to support them with what the medical world does not, and to really create that fertile foundation within so that you can conceive with ease.
What do you think happened on that yoga mat?
So many things happened on that yoga mat. It wasn't just all in one shot, it was really an unfolding. And what got me hooked in the beginning and what wasn't led to transformation for me, what got me hooked in the beginning was a $5 karma class that was hot and fast and sweaty, and I was hooked. And that was my first yoga teacher training, was learning how to teach hatha yoga. And yet, had I stayed on that path and on that route, I would not have another little bundle of joy running around my house right now. And so it was really diving deeper and understanding that I needed to slow down, I needed to do yoga like yin yoga and get into the issues in my tissues. And I needed to do restorative yoga and really come out of fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode. And I really needed to work with my subconscious mind in meditations and really learn to rewire my neural pathways and stop, you know, watering the weeds instead of watering the flowers, and realizing that that was a conscious choice and that that was possible, and really having a spiritual awakening and seeing that there was a different way and a different choice day in and day out that I could consciously take.
Did you get to that place mentally, or like, because I feel like we often, the first thing we do is we look at the physical obstacles for infertility. And I'd love your perspective on this because it's something that I've really come to terms with having, I miscarried last year, and I realized through that process how much of a spiritual experience it is and how much cleansing needs to be done of that womb space before you
Mhm.
can have a body that is ready and prepared for pregnancy and birth. So did you get there mentally, or did you also have some kind of a moment, spiritual moment within where you were like, I need to look at, I'm assuming, things like your mindset and the way that you were talking to yourself? Like, how did you get there?
I really got there by having embodied experiences and understanding energetically. I didn't at the time realize what was happening on beyond a physical level, and I was beginning to understand and dive deeper. And yet everything that was put in front of me or being asked of me seemed foreign, seemed unfamiliar, seemed, out of my comfort zone. And yet that's what I needed. And that's what changed and shifted everything for me, was really the unlearning of everything that I had been conditioned about and my belief systems, and that there was more possible for me that I hadn't even realized. And I think we are often held back unconsciously by what we don't realize is running beneath the surface and really running our lives on a day in and day out basis. And so it was very eye opening for me, and a lot of healing needed to happen and a lot of slowing down needed to happen, but it was never in a way that I felt re traumatized or that I couldn't cope or that this was too much for me and I couldn't continue. It was all done and within a safe, sacred space, which I think is so important in order for transformation to occur.
What did you learn about yourself through that process?
So much, but one of the biggest blessings was that there's a quote, something to the effect in the Bhagavad Gita, which is a book you read if you do any yoga teacher training. And, it was that your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And it was realizing that I needed to become more conscious and aware of my thoughts, and that I needed to really start to pay attention of where I was going unconscious, what was on repeat in my mind in a day in and day out basis, and stop that loop and know that I could stop that loop, and that that didn't have to be the rest of my life, and I didn't have to sort of stay in this unconscious state of hopelessness and this is just the way it is, and this is just the way I am, and in a sort of victim mindset.
Was the hopelessness just around fertility? So how long had you been trying to fall pregnant before you sought external help?
I really just it unfolded naturally, and it wasn't, you know, I had decided to I'd gone back on birth control when I had my twins, because I was like, there's no way. There's no way, there's not enough hands to go around. We cannot have any more children right now. And then I really stopped and was conscious about, why am I putting that in my body when I hadn't needed it before? And it was so hard for me to get pregnant the first time around. And I really sort of changed the trajectory of the way I looked at myself and the way I treated myself and what I was putting in my body and why I was putting it on my body and what effect that was going to have for me. Because before that, I just did the things because that's what I was meant to do and should do. And that was the way to do things. And yet it turned out that wasn't the only way. And so there was a huge span of time where I could have become pregnant and I didn't, and I wouldn't have, and it wasn't until I really started to do the inner work and journey inward and begin to sort of unfold those layers of the lotus flower that more was discovered and more opened up.
I love that you described it as the lotus flower. There is so much power and softness in that for me. And I think that a lot of us forget that that's what we're capable of. And
Mhm.
we literally, our thoughts, our actions, our decisions, our circumstances, the ones that we put ourselves in, literally create our reality and our future. And when you take that level of accountability like you did for yourself, and you're like, I need to change the way I think, I need to really revisit what I put into my body, that is like proof of what's possible when you actually commit to yourself. And it's so much greater than just physical health. It is spiritual health, it is emotional health, it is so much more energetic health. It's so much more than just physical health. So I love that you explained it in that way.
They
Yeah.
often describe it like peeling back the layers of an onion, but I'm not a huge onion fan,
I
so
was
I'm
going
like,
to say,
the lotus
I
is much more beautiful to me.
I might have to trade my onion in, because I lovingly call it my trauma onion. You know, the closer that you get to the core, the more it burns and the more you cry, is the way that I look at it. So, yeah, I might have to replace onion with the lotus flower. It just sounds so much more beautiful, like unfolding petals. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you think of, we hear a lot about like the biological clock, and I sometimes wonder, is it all, hype and fear mongering, or is it really backed by science? Like, I get that to a degree, the older that we get, the less eggs we have. But in your experience, can that be not for everyone and just for some people?
I think that there is a lot of fear instilled in us, and fear often can equal money because they put you on a timeline and then you feel rushed, you feel panicked, you feel like you're running out of time, you feel you have to do everything, even if you need more space and time to process things like a failed round of IVF or a miscarriage. It's like, oh, you're ready to conceive again. You can try again, but maybe you haven't dealt with anything mentally or emotionally or spiritually. And so I really feel like we're not always set up for success in the way that we should be. And I really feel like the work that I offer should be done before anybody starts trying to conceive, because it is going to set you up for more success when you understand your mind, body, and spirit on a really deeper level and can nourish yourself from the inside out. And there is so much misinformation out there because I offer Ayurveda to my clients, which is the sister science to yoga. And so they work hand in hand together. And this is ancient wisdom that has been around for thousands of years. And it's not a fad or a diet or a trend. And so it's really important to understand yourself and what serves you best, and what worked for somebody else and their magic, might not be your magic, but it's very important to be in tune and in touch with your body and understand how it's operating on a day in and day out basis.
You touched on something really important there, and it's that, there are businesses that make money out of our fear. And when I think of the lies that were sold as women from a very young age, where, focus on your career, wait till you get married, wait a little longer, focus on yourself. And then we focus on ourselves for so long and build a career. And then we get to an age where we've missed our fertility window, our strongest fertility window. And then we have no choice but to, for a lot of people, go down the IVF path. And so I feel like they push us as far as they can, and then that leaves us very little choice to go find alternatives when we're like, oh my God, we're running out of time, we should probably do IVF. And that becomes the only option because that's the quickest Not that I think it is actually the quickest, but they sell it as the quickest and best option for women. And I mean, I know that IVF has gone through the roof here in Australia. I don't know what the statistic is in Canada, but I would say that it's probably worldwide that we're dealing with so much infertility, especially in the last few years.
From the time I started my business during the pandemic, it was 1 in 8. Now it is 1 in 6 worldwide. And last week, I just read something that the US is 1 in 5. And I couldn't believe it. And I had to go back and fact check. I was like, this is not going in the right directory and right direction. And this is not serving people's best interests. This should not be a money making scheme. You really are putting people through a lot. And where is, the support alongside of that when you're going to put people through that? And to me, that doesn't seem fair or right, because there are a lot of stories. I've had clients going from Canada to the US for treatments, and there is a lot going on, and they're putting everything they have into this.
I know a few people, one very specific girl who I've known since I was a teenager, who I recently found out has just had her first miracle baby at the age of 40. And they were doing IVF, multiple rounds of IVF for 10 years. That
Wow.
investment, I couldn't even do one round of IVF. Let me tell you, I've always said if I can't have kids, I'm not meant to have kids. That is my belief system. So I'm like, I believe that, my path is chosen for me. And if that's not my path, then I accept that that's my path. But there are a lot of people that want children very much and are willing to do multiple rounds in 10 years. And she said to me that this was their last attempt. And if this didn't work, that's it. And so to have her say that it worked and she's now birthed her baby, like it literally is a miracle. Her daughter's a miracle. But I can't imagine what it would have felt like for 10 years. And because you have to inject yourself with things, right? Like you're unwell for a good part of that time,
Yes, it's
let
it's
alone the
not an easy
disappointment.
process at all. It's not. And I think people don't understand or realize sort of what they're getting into, and then they're on that path, and then they think, oh well, it'll be the next one, and it'll be the next one, and then that just leads to chronic stress and just a chronic state of fight or flight mode, and your nervous system needs to come out of that. It is a very long prolonged state to be in and to put yourself through.
Let alone the medications and things that you're pumping your system with, right?
Yes.
Like, no, very few of us are benefiting from that, but there are, managing directors and board members that are very much benefiting from what a lot of women are going through and what a lot of men are going through in supporting their partners through this process, right? And so in the work that you're doing, what are the biggest lifestyle changes do you think that make a real difference in supporting this journey, and what is actual like total nonsense?
Oh my goodness. I think that the most supportive thing that you can do for yourself is something for your mind, body, and spirit daily. Some kind of practice that you have. And what that looks like is unique and individual to you. But I think that we need to slow down, we need to pause, we need self care, and not just the bubble bath or the spa, like actual, real balance and alignment and a state of equilibrium within our system. And this reset that you can do sort of daily is going to have a massive ripple effect on your fertility journey, on your life journey. And so, what is absolute nonsense is all the fad diets, all the fad trends, all these excessive, hard hit workouts, and things that we're cyclical beings as women, and we are not meant to go through the month at the same rhythm, at the same pace for each phase of our cycle. And yet, how many of us do that or give ourselves grace for one day? Maybe if we get our period, it's not enough. And so I think we have to relearn and work with our body and in alignment and in rhythm with our body versus just go, 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 do, 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 and very masculine type energy is being brought to most of our lives because that's the way society is. And we don't have enough feminine energy to help balance that. And we need that. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I used to look at people lying on yoga bolsters and think, what is that going to do for me? I don't need that.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, for some reason, this is bringing up a conversation I had with a gut specialist on the show, and she was talking about how a lot of these diets work really well for men and their 24-hour cycles, and they do not work for women. And our, how 26 to 28, what is the average cycle for a woman? Whatever that is. And I thought to myself, oh my God, like even instinctively, I've known for myself just how much I appreciate slow mornings. Whereas I used to get up at 5:30, go for a run, do yoga, or go to the gym and then do yoga. That was what I did in the morning, and I'd go hardcore. So yeah, I'm finding that a lot of the things that we're being sold as women that we then beat ourselves up for works really well for men and not for us.
No, we are different, and we're not designed to operate in the manner in which they operate and what is best for them. And so I think it's important to honor yourself. And it doesn't mean that you can't do some of these things with your partner, but it means that maybe you do some of these things separately and you choose to honor yourself. And I think sometimes that's a hard lesson to unlearn because it's very much taught and ingrained in us that, more is better. And it's like, no, less is more.
In so many ways, especially for women, I'm realizing in so many ways. So is there a piece of advice, like fertility advice, that wants to like make you throw your phone across the room when you see it online? Like, is there one that really gets to you?
I see a lot of people who put nutrition advice out there. And in Ayurveda, there is such a thing as food combining. So all these things that are sold to us as wonderful things to eat, and this is just the best meal or snack, etc. ever, really aren't. And it's things like, mainstream society in North America loves cheeseburgers and pizza, which are two of like the worst things that you can eat because you have gluten, you have meat, and you have dairy. It is very hard for you to digest that. And yet, you ask any kid, I ask my own kids, what do you want to have? And I'm just like, no. It's like bombarded with this from such a young age. And it's like, well, and things like mixing fruits with yogurts, like filling like papaya boats I saw was like a big craze for a while, and things that actually your stomach is just like, what are you doing to me? And then realizing that you're not getting the nutritional value from what you're eating because your stomach is having such a hard time digesting what you're putting into it. And you're putting so much into it that doesn't mix well together. And therefore, you're not getting the nutritional value that you think that you are. And so, therefore, your reproductive tissues are not getting the nourishment that they require. And it starts on a system and it filters down, and they're the last to be nourished. And so it's really important that what we're putting in is actually being received where it needs to be received.
So I'm a little depressed hearing that because I love yogurt and berries, like Greek yogurt and berries. So you telling me that the coupling of these food items is the issue, not necessarily the ingredient itself. So putting cheese, meat, and bread together is the problem, but eating cheese on its own, or eating gluten on its own, or eating meat on its own is okay. Hey folks, quick gut check. Are you actually nourishing your insides or just surviving on lattes and get through the week vibes? I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to boost your energy, cleanse your system, and kick that bloat to the curb. Enter Supercharged Food, a proud supporter of this show and a beautiful heart-led business founded by a clinical nutritionist who believes that real healing starts in the gut. They offer powerful nutritionist-developed supplements like Fulvicumic drops, collagen-boosting bundles, and their best-selling Love Your Gut Synbiotic, packed with prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes your microbiome will love. Plus, their books and recipes will change the way you look at health from the inside out. Hit the link in the show notes and use the code TheSkinI'mIn to get 10% off every order. Alrighty, let's get back to the show.
Yes, it's that we just seem to love to like throw all these things together, and our system does not love that, especially in Ayurveda. Like, simplicity really is the key. Eating warm, nourishing foods, because a lot of people are eating cold, raw foods, which are harder to digest. They take longer. Therefore, your body's working harder and you're not getting as much as you think that you're receiving. And so it's so backwards because people think, oh, I'm eating healthy, yet they may be eating a cold smoothie for breakfast, a cold salad for lunch, and a steak at dinner or something, and they have not actually received the proper nutrition that they need for that day. And it's understanding that everybody has a unique constitution and that certain things nourish certain people more, and what works for them may not necessarily be in your best interest. And for myself, I am a Pitta constitution, which means that I'm composed primarily of fire and water. And so spicy food is not good for me. It does not agree with me. It's not my friend. And yet I used to love that stuff. And we're often drawn to the things that actually put us out of balance. And hot yoga, it's the same thing that throws me more out of balance and bringing me into balance. And so it's learning that maybe you do these things occasionally, maybe you have it once in a while, but it's not something that you do on a daily basis, because there's going to be consequences to pay that aren't ideal for you.
So they're called doshas, right? Is that what it is? The Pitta,
Yes,
and what are the other two?
There's Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
Right. And can you be two of them and instead of just one?
You can
right.
have two that are more predominant. Typically it's one, but you can have two. And it's also important to know that I may be Pitta in my body, but I'm Vata in my mind, which also means that I'm more prone, because Vata is air and space. So I am prone to overthinking and overanalyzing and being on the hamster wheel. So I know that for myself. So when I catch myself doing that, then it's time to ground myself so I don't continue on that path.
And so I want to talk about Ayurveda then, because I'm really interested in what you're saying about how spicy food doesn't agree with your dosha. So as someone who is you said Pitta by constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually, what do each of the doshas actually look like? And how can someone maybe at a very basic level identify what dosha they may be?
There's a lot of quizzes that you can do. I mean, I go through a very thorough one with my clients where we look sort of where they're at in childhood and make sure that that sort of remain the same, right? Because this is something that is lifelong, you know. This serves you for your whole entire lifespan when you understand this about yourself. And yet, you know, we may have undergone some changes that maybe aren't necessarily our true selves. Like, say, when you're pregnant, you have more weight on your face, and one of the ways to recognize is facial features and things like that. So it's important to know that we're drawn to what often puts us out of balance. So to be conscious aware of that, and that there's breath work that supports your dosha, that there's yoga poses that support your dosha, that you can really find a way that is in alignment and that serves you best, and that is unique to you. And so you're not fitting yourself into a box that you don't belong in.
I was going to say, I was given a beautiful book on Ayurveda. I flicked through it, but I kind of don't want to know, because that would require me giving up two of my, I say favorite things. I love laksa, and I like the spicy laksa. And so, you know, to be told to have to give that up, I would be devastated. But I'm pretty sure spicy food does not agree with me. So I get very hot. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very sad about that.
You're prone to getting to getting flushed, and you carry the heat. The heat doesn't, and when you're in the sun, you start to get irritated and angry because it's almost like too much fire energy being added to your system. That's a pretty good sign that you're probably a pizza.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do the test in the book. Going to have to know, because I've developed a sweating condition in the last 2 years that I don't really know where it's come from. And so any treatment that I've had so far, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, homeopathy, somatic therapy, hasn't been able to stop it. So now I'm like, but yeah, I'd be interested to know
On
if
the
that's something to do
chili
with
note,
food.
though, I just have to say something about chili, because
Yes.
chili should either be vegetarian with just your beans, or it should just be meat with no beans, because the beans and the meat together, they don't agree with
Interesting.
you. They don't like you. They don't digest well. That's why everybody who eats chili ends up having gas, because it doesn't
Oh, we're
sit with
talking like chili is in the Scoopy, the food chili in the
Yes.
US. Okay, yeah. So we don't really do chili here in Australia. So when I meant the like chopping up fresh red chili, basically, or
Oh,
chili
okay.
flakes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I remember when I lived in Chicago, I had my first experience of chili, and I was like, this is out of control. It's so good. Thankfully, we don't have it here. But yeah, I do recall having fond memories of those 10 months I spent in Chicago and ate chili like it was nobody's business. Oh my God. So let's talk about your clients then. Who's coming to you? What age groups are you seeing coming through? And what are some of the success stories?
Well, I have a wide array of people coming to me, because some don't want to step foot in a fertility clinic, either for financial reasons or their belief system or accessibility, because if you're in North America, there's usually one per state, per province, depending where you are, and that is not a lot. And so it's not necessarily accessible for a lot of people. And so I have that group of people that come to me, and then I also have the people that come to me who are fed up, feel like they've tried everything, and, you know, they want to heal and go to a deeper level because nothing has worked yet. And the goal is always to reach people sooner before they feel like they're sort of at, their low point, but also knowing that everybody's path and trajectory is their own, and to meet people where they're at. And so one of my clients that was going from Canada to the US and worked with me had 2 eggs left, went for her last transfer, and had a successful transfer. So that really lit me up, and I have goosebumps because it was a long road to get there. And so my heart goes out to her, and I really think it is a testament to doing the work, and that it is possible, and that, not to lose faith in yourself in the process, but maybe you do need some time to heal and to process what you've been through. And so I think it's so important that you follow your own timeline, and you do what you need to do, and pause when you need to pause, and honor what you as a couple need to prioritize in the moment, because it isn't an easy road for a lot of people.
It's surprising to me that there's only one clinic per
In
province or
Canada,
state. Okay.
for
What's
sure.
going on in Canada? I mean, I lived there for 5 years, but I know nothing about this IVF journey because, like I said, it's not something that I would ever do for myself. So what is going on? Is it one per province?
It is. It is one per province, which is like,
Sounds like
look
a
at
monopoly to me. Like
it's
someone's making a lot of money.
Well, also, it's the wait list, and it's all of the other things, right? And you can do so much for yourself in the waiting, and perhaps you don't even need to take that route in the first place. If you properly prepare yourself, you should prepare yourself just like you would prepare for anything else major in your life. And yet, there's an expectation that this is just supposed to happen, the moment that we begin trying. And it is not the case for so many of us, but that is often what we've been fed since childhood as well.
And I also wonder there are so many people who don't want children that fall pregnant really easily. And I find that the people who really want children have a hard time falling pregnant. And I just think that's so unfair. What do you think that is? Do you think that's because they're so stressed about it and they're focused on it and they're trying to do everything to fall pregnant and they end up stressing their body out?
Stress plays a major role in it. Absolutely, it does. But I think it's also in the teachings that have gained and learned have been that we all have a divine architecture. So your path is set. So if you are meant to have children, you will have children. They're not going to miss you, but maybe you're not there yet, or maybe there's some work you need to do, or maybe the timing hasn't been what it's meant to be, or there's some other shift that needs to occur in order for you to be ready and open to receive. And so I think it's an important point that we can't force and make things happen on our timeline. Sometimes we have to learn to surrender and let go and to just trust and have faith that we're divinely guided and supported at all times. And initially, I never had that in my journey. And I was going to the bookstore and I was picking up the books, but I couldn't implement those things for myself. I needed someone to have held my hand and guided me through all of these things that would have helped me, but I wasn't in the place mentally or emotionally to be able to do that for myself. And so I think that as much as we want to help ourselves, sometimes we're not in that place to be able to do so.
One of the best pieces of advice that I've been given is to make room for a baby, like in your life, to make space in your home, to make room for a baby in your life. Have you come across any other really good pieces of advice, either that you've given to yourself or one of your clients has been given by someone, that loves them or someone in their lives that's really resonated with you?
I think one of the most beneficial things that I have learned that helped me and that I offer to my clients is to actually work with my womb space, to understand the energy of my womb space, and to clear that energy, to heal that energy, and to realize that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it's not possible. And I think that we get so caught up in that it hasn't happened yet that we sort of block the possibility of it happening. And we're doing this unconsciously, not consciously.
Do you want to age backwards, get better sleep, improve your memory, boost your immune function, and improve your circulation? Then the healing properties of red light therapy is your answer. When I noticed my skin, energy, and mood lacking luster, I spent countless hours researching the best solutions that would help me get my health back on track, and that's when I found EMR Tech. This science backed, non invasive treatment uses red and near infrared light to activate your body's natural healing processes, supporting your body in boosting circulation, reducing inflammation, and assisting in the production of collagen. The results? Wow. Smoother skin, better sleep, less pain in the joints, more energy, and a serious glow up from the inside out. It's a powerful year round solution that helps reset the negative effects of spending too much time indoors, on screens, and not getting enough sleep. I'm obsessed with my Firewave Pro panel, and it has become my go to for deep cellular level healing. I just pop it on for 20 minutes every night before bed to wind down, reset, and recharge. It has made a world of difference to the quality of sleep I get each night and how my face shows up in the morning. To get yourself a glow up, head on over to www.emr-tech, that's tek.com/the skin I'm in, and use code the skin I'm in for 30% off every order. I've popped the link and code in the show notes to make your life that little bit easier. Alrighty, let's get back to the show, folks. Talk to me about womb energy, because I think that some people think that that's all kinds of woo-woo and not real. So what do you mean when you say womb energy?
So we want this to be a warm, inviting place for a soul to enter. And so you can you can call in your soul, and I never would have believed that was possible, but I absolutely did call in my son because I was like, this is how you're supposed to have a baby. This is how it is supposed to happen. And literally, I called in my son, and there's just no other way to explain it. And maybe that's not your belief system, but maybe it could be your belief system. And so I think it's also important to understand your energy body and that you can work with your chakra system and your sacral chakra houses your reproductive organs. And so to work with that energy, to heal that energy, to have that energy be in flow, and your sacral chakra also is your emotions. So it is an emotional roller coaster ride when you're trying to conceive. So that means honoring and letting your emotions flow and allowing yourself to feel and to heal and to do all of those things that perhaps you have suppressed and repressed for a very long time.
What would you say then are like some of the signs and symptoms of someone who doesn't have flow?
Literally, they cannot flow with life. And that was me. That's why I struggled a long time, was because I wanted to be in control and I wanted things to happen in my time. And I didn't know how to let go and I didn't know how to surrender. I wasn't embodied, you know, I was there physically, but that was all. And so I literally feel like I took my first breath when I was pregnant with my third child and had to slow down and had to listen to my body and had to breathe and be in alignment with my body and let go of everything that I was being told to do and become my own inner teacher. And I think that's the best gift that's ever been given to me, was my own understanding of myself and my own body.
See, I think that is great advice. Listen to your own inner teacher. Like that is
Mhm.
so incredibly important. And as I go on this journey and I get to meet incredible women on this podcast and incredible men, the more conversations I have, the more I realize that everything that we need is within us already, but it is about surrendering, getting your life in flow and becoming the truest version of yourself so that you can actually meet yourself. I feel like so many women have no idea who they are. And I speak from experience. No idea who I was. So I'm like, now that I know who I am, now that I know who I want to be, now that I know who I want to, how I want to spend the rest of my life and who I want around me to spend the rest of my life with, that bit of wisdom that you just dropped there, like it was like nothing. I was just like, that's it. That's great advice. Oh my God. Just, yeah, look for the teacher within. Yeah. I love that.
It's there, and they say when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And so you may hear something 1,000 times, like every time I went to yoga was move with your breath and blah blah blah, and the teacher was guiding the whole entire class. And it wasn't till I was outside barefoot in a labyrinth that I was like, I feel like I took my first breath, and I was 36 years old, you know? And so I literally was like, wow, that was a complete shift and change of everything that I thought that I knew.
Yeah. That's really powerful. What a place to have been in. Gosh, what did that feel like?
It was very empowering. It was a complete night and day difference between my first pregnancy and my second pregnancy, because the first time was very stressful. It was fertility drugs. It was a high risk pregnancy because it was twins. It was an emergency C-section. It was a harder postpartum recovery. And the second time around, I was deemed geriatric, yet I felt like $1 million.
Don't you love
So
that term? I think we
no,
need to
it's,
put it
you
in the
can say
bin.
that. I'm not embodying that. You can keep that. Like, I felt so good the second time around, but I was able to go hiking when my water broke. I had a VBAC and was back at Baby and Me yoga 10 days later, and very empowered of what my body was truly capable of. And I don't think we truly access, all of us, and what we truly are capable of and the power that we hold within us.
And that's something I really wish I knew sooner. Like had I not started this really, really the deep, deep work. It started at 27 for me, the inkling, the little messages. Didn't really do anything about it until I was 31. And then at 37, it hit me in the face, like 36, 37. And now that I'm 40, I'm turning 41 this year. I think to myself, had I gone on this journey sooner, I wonder where I would have been. And not because I think about the past and I wish for anything other than who I am today, but I really wish I had an older, wiser woman who had already been on the journey to be able to guide me, or at least for me to have known that my intuition knows and my inner teacher knows, and to just have listened to her from a long time ago rather than, really, really diving in only about maybe 9 years ago. Yeah.
I think that everything unfolds as it's meant to, but often it's not until we look back that all of the dots connect and then we realize that everything happened exactly as it was meant to. And, I wouldn't have birthed my business if I hadn't been through what I'd been through. And so I just was in a position of how can I not give this to people? People need this. This has changed my life more than any piece of paper I have ever gotten. And I'm very blessed, and I know how much so many people really want to have children, and I absolutely believe that they can, unless, they are 55 and that window has actually closed.
So then when you think of the legacy you want to leave behind, Ashley, like what would that be?
The legacy that I truly want to leave behind is that your health and your happiness and your healing is in your own hands always. And so I really have been able to be a witness to that in my own life and to see that that is truly possible. And I think that a lot of people don't think it is. And I would love to change that because it really is a different state of being and really shows you what is possible for you, and that everything that you're told or everything that you're taught doesn't have to be your truth.
Is there any piece of advice you would give your younger self, if you could?
Oh, absolutely. And it would definitely be to not be so hard on myself and to treat my body like the sacred vessel that it is. Because for the longest time, I used to try to manipulate it and put it into the yoga poses. And, everything came from a place of ego and not from a place of self love. And so I really feel like, yoga has given me so many gifts, but that is definitely one of them.
What do you want your kids to know about this journey? Because you've got, it's 2 boys, 3 boys?
2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl. Oh, you've got the best of both worlds. So what would you want them to know as boys and as a girl?
I definitely want them, and they know this, and they tell me all the time and roll their eyes all the time that they're like, Mom, because there's so many sayings in Ayurveda, like death is looking over your shoulder if you're standing eating at the counter. And I remind them to sit down all the time. And I just get the eye rolls and I get all these things. But I know that it's actually landed and they are going to carry that with them for the rest of their lives. And so, but I always want them to know that they are deeply loved and they were so wanted, and I just feel so absolutely blessed to be their mom.
So then I have to know, because I feel like there would be so many things that you are proud of in your life, but I'd love to know what you love most about being a woman.
I would say, and this is probably taken me a long time to be able to say because I used to think it was my weakness, right? I used to think that my sensitivity was a weakness and that my, you know, big open heart was a weakness, and to know that it's a strength and to know that it makes me who I am. And I think that, sometimes men have a big hard outer shell, but I think they're the same underneath of them. But sometimes you have to break through that.
That made me so emotional. I'm like, don't cry, dry your eyes. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, as a kid, I was always told you're too sensitive. You cry too easily, and I'm like, but I don't understand. Like I feel better when I cry, and so I had started to suppress that. And I think having suppressed that, my body started to shake. So it trembles now whenever I feel sad. And I'm like, no, it's okay. You can cry, and then the tears like just come out. So just then I was just like, no, tremble. Don't let the tears come out. Oh, I love that. I love that you bring that up. No one's ever said that. And so I think that for anyone who's listening, that is a reminder that I think that a lot of women just forget that that is something that it's a little bit of a superpower for us. That sensitivity makes us soft. you know?
Yes, absolutely. And for the longest time, I absolutely agree that I was like, no, and try to hide that part of myself and suppress that part of myself. And, my husband jokes at me and says, "Are you raining?" Because literally,
Thanks, husband.
it's fine. And I embrace it now. And I don't feel like guilt or shame or any of the things that I used to. It's just me. And that's who I am. But it's definitely taken a long time to get there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's really important for women to know, I think, that we are able to give ourselves permission to be sensitive, and that is okay because that is, what brings softness into our world. And yeah, I love that you've said that. Oh my God, Ashley, please let the listeners know where they can find you and how they can work with you.
I would love to invite you to my Holistic Fertility Coach Facebook group. If you're currently trying to conceive, it is a safe, sacred space to land, and I offer all sorts of meditations and whatever I'm divinely guided to call call forth or feel that is supportive for all of the people that are there. And I think that we always should prioritize our health and well-being no matter where we are on our journey. So you can also find me on the health and wellness platform Vibely, where I offer yoga classes and meditations and Reiki and my coaching, of course.
I love that. There are all these things that I'm learning about you now that I'm like, oh, what's Vibely? I'm going to have to look this up. But for all of those who are listening, if you are interested in connecting with Ashley, I will include in the episode description and across socials links and ways you can do that. So if you haven't already, head on over to Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram and follow the Skin I'm In podcast to be the first to know when new episodes drop. Ashley, thank you so much for being a guest on the Skin I'm In podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
The journey to motherhood is one of the most sacred passages a woman can walk. Yet, in so many ways, the wisdom, the power, and the sheer joy of that journey has been stripped away from us, handed over to systems, timelines, and cold clinical processes that often leave women feeling more like patients than creators of life. I loved what Ashley said that if you are meant to be a mother, the opportunity will not pass you by. I believe that with every fiber of my being. Had I become a mother when I thought I was supposed to, according to my perfectly laid out timeline, of course, I had written out a whole life plan that had me married at 24, children at 26, and like the other 4 children that I was going to be having, because in total it was meant to be 5 children. It would all happen by the time I was 35. Like it was a wonderful plan that never happened. And thank God for that, because I would not have been able to offer my children back then the woman I am today, a woman deeply rooted in her healing, a woman who has fought to break generational cycles, and I continue to do so. A woman committed to being present, loving, and truly, truly devoted to the sacred art of motherhood. Honestly, my future children, they're going to be so lucky I did all this trauma work now and not when I had them. I'm sure there'll be more that I'll have to do once I have them, because then I'll be confronted with things. And yeah, but I'm so prepared. I'm so prepared for that. And I'm so committed to that. And I think that's why Ashley's journey to me is a reflection of what so many women experience. We are funneled into the machinery of Western medicine, and we often are funneled in there desperate to seek the answers that we are not getting, go from practitioner to practitioner and doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, only to be met with confusion, disappointment, and like no answers. But what Ashley reminds us is so powerful. The answers we seek aren't always out there. They live within us. They live in the quiet wisdom of our inner teacher, the one who has been whispering all along. On this show, I've often called it doing the work, but really it's become so much more than work, like self-development work. For me, it's more like a homecoming. It's the practice of remembering who we are beneath the noise, tuning into the ancient knowing that lives in our bones and trusting that we are already equipped to walk this path. When we strengthen the voice of our intuition, we don't just hear her more clearly, we become her. We become the wise women, the healers, the nurturers, not just for the children we may birth, but for ourselves and for the generations yet to come. To every woman listening who is somewhere on the miraculous / aching / confusing path that is motherhood, I want you to know that no matter how old you are, no matter how far along you are not behind. You are not broken. You are just becoming. And there is no timeline more sacred than your own. With gratitude and grace, have a wonderful day.